Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, a firm specializing in helping leaders end the tug of war between people and performance, finding ways to drive results and engagement together. We do leader boot camps, keynotes, and pulse checks to help build custom blueprints to drive your team forward. Just let us know what you need. So, a fun fact about me is that I'm kind of a tough customer when it comes to pithy quotes meant to offer life advice. I mean, so many of them sound great until you really sit down and think about them. Like, if we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, then why don't books all have the same cover? Or if we're supposed to live every day as if it's our last, then who's going to pay the mortgage in a month? Am I cynical? Yeah, a little. But I'm also practical, which is probably why I love this one quote by George Bernard Shaw. And if you've ever been in a workshop that I've run on communication, then you've seen it. He said, "The biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place." I love this because no matter how long I sit with it, and at this point it's been years, it stays true and wise. In every instance of communication, verbal, nonverbal, or written, in person or virtual, synchronous or asynchronous, there are always those giving the message and those receiving it. And so often, those don't align. The meaning intended doesn't match the meaning received. Leaders think they've said something 1,000 times, and employees have no awareness of the thing at all, because what the leader believes they've said just isn't what's been received. Leader or not, we are all transmitters of communication sometimes. So let's talk about some ways you can dial up your meaning, reducing the misfires, and making sure your message has meaning. First, it's only valuable if it's debatable. One reason communication fails to deliver meaning is it's totally bland. One of my clients calls it the apple pie test, as in, if you're communicating a message, let's say a strategy, make sure it's not the verbal equivalent of apple pie. You know, everyone loves it. Like, is your strategy to be innovative? To deliver top quality customer service? If so, that's great, but not really sufficient. Unless you have a competitor who strives to literally do nothing new ever, or who wins by telling customers to bleep off and figure it out themselves. If your message is just delivering a set of wholesome values, people will tune it out. So how do you solve this? You need to push a step further down to the level at which something becomes debatable. Like maybe your message is that you'll innovate by adding a specific feature to a family of your digital products, or enhance customer service by letting go of scripts and empowering your service reps to listen and respond as they see fit. These options have more meaning because there are alternative ways to drive innovation or service. Now, this doesn't only apply to strategy setters. If you're, say, pitching an idea to your leader, how can you position it as specific, like, it will help us drive growth in this market because it has this feature, versus generic, it will help us drive growth. Offering something debatable causes the listener to be more thoughtful, and they'll take more meaning from it. Next, connect the dots. The next reason communication fails to deliver meaning is that there's so much of it. I mean, who among us isn't drowning in emails, in org announcements and product updates and action plans? We're taking in so much information all of the time, it sometimes just doesn't stick. So what can you do here? You can connect the dots. Pull seemingly disparate pieces together and help those around you see how this isn't just another thing, but an extension of a thing that's already in flight. Like maybe a few months ago, you asked your boss if you could attend a 3-day product development conference. And a few weeks ago, you asked your boss to help you find a mentor in product development inside the organization. And now a product development role has opened and you've asked your boss to recommend you for it. To you, it's obvious. Of course, these asks are all connected. Obviously, you've been looking to ready yourself for a role in product development. But your boss is busy, maybe with 7 other team members to manage. And maybe from their perspective, you just keep asking for things. So don't apologize. Pull it all together. You're doing the right thing in advocating for yourself. Just make it explicit. With each additional ask, help your boss see how it's a build upon the last. So really, you're just executing one plan in a series of steps versus asking for things on repeat. Next, be a cynic. And obviously, I've got a leg up here. The next thing that keeps communication from delivering meaning, it's empty sunshine, but it doesn't ring true. So for you, if you're a leader communicating change, don't tell your team everything will be sunny, that every decision is designed to enhance their engagement if, in reality, it's really about containing costs. People see through that, and you lose trust. Likewise, if you're interviewing for a job, please don't ever say your biggest flaw is your undying commitment to perfection, or your inability to stop working because you love what you do so much. Make sure you consider what you're about to say and make yourself hear it through the ears of a cynic. Tell your team that there is a need to contain costs, and you need to make a series of choices to do this, but at every decision point, you'll also be considering the impact to their employee experience and doing your best to preserve or even enhance it. Tell the hiring leader you've had experience in the past in taking on more than you could handle, and you learned some lessons the hard way, and you've developed new systems for sense-checking yourself before committing. We can be honest and still engaging in the messages we deliver, and we should be. And finally, find their why, not yours. Our message can seem empty when it presumes we all care about the same things, like on a primal level. There are things that we're supposed to care about. We may even performatively care about. And then there are the things that we crave. Selfishly, humanly. Tell your team that a change in a product or process will grow company profitability or customer loyalty. That's great. But tell your team implementing this change will enhance their individual paychecks, their likelihood of promotion, or even make their jobs simpler and more efficient. This is better. We need to be real. We are all human. And wanting what we want selfishly is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when we fail to connect with it in our communication. So, do you want to persuade your leader to give you a resource or maybe even a chance to try something? Highlight how it will take something heavy off of their plate or make them look good to their boss, and watch impact happen in real time. I hope you're feeling inspired to switch up your messaging. If so, drop me a note at Rachel@LeadAboveNoise and let me know how it went. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com if your workplace could use an activation boost, a bootcamp, a keynote, a pulse check, you choose. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find and follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Faraband. Our director of podcasts is Brandon Getchis. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. Our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin.